Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for May 24th through 28th. So we are heading into a very powerful and potent total lunar eclipse happening on Wednesday, and can kind of feel this moving into this energy. This eclipse happens at the early degrees, 5 degrees Sagittarius, and that's not too far out of square of Jupiter at the very beginning of Pisces, making a mutable T-square. Now, we've been really feeling this for this past week as the sun has been in square to Jupiter. The sun in Gemini, in square to Jupiter, as the sun moved over into Gemini, coming into that square. And the sun is, who do you think you are? Now, Gemini has an energy of wanting to see the other side of the story, exploring options. It's a mutable sign. Mutable signs are about adjusting. And indeed, this whole astrology right now is all mutable. And this is a really good thing to keep in mind, that we're in a massive time of adjusting and change, a complete change of perspective necessary for humanity to move forward. And that's the energy of this next 6 weeks for this Mercury retrograde in Gemini. So the sun in Gemini is trying to figure out who they are in relationship to other people. Gemini is the place in our evolution where we begin to interact with outside energies, like it rules sibling relationships and our relationship to the outside world in general, meaning who are we? So Gemini can bring a feeling of not knowing who you are. And we're having a huge bloom of this because now we have the sun, Mercury, Venus, and the North Node all in Gemini. And so a huge bloom of this energy, and we're being taken right back to last year at this time when we had that Venus retrograde in Gemini, coming at the beginning of this whole scamdemic. And this energy brought a feeling of like, wait a minute, I thought I knew where I was going. I thought I had some direction. I thought I was heading, I had plans, and nothing is going as planned, right? So that's understandable with the situation of the world. But here we are a year later, and this feeling is coming up even stronger. And so it's a really uncomfortable place for supernova souls, because it's going right to that core energy within you of that life that has not yet been lived. And everything in this astrology this year has been about trying to claim back our life force and our actual living, our actual expression of the gifts and skills inside of us. The Sagittarius energy is bringing up a mysterious and esoteric, a disconnected feeling, an esoteric depression, very common in supernova souls, that has to do with just this, that you came here for something bigger, and yet you haven't been able to get anywhere near that level of expression, and you don't even know what that even means, but it's still eating away inside of you. Now, this is a similar feeling to what happens when, say, with that Venus retrograde last year and the events of the world, when you think you know who you are, where you're going, you got a plan and you got a direction, and then all of a sudden, poof, gone. And it's that feeling of like, I just don't know who I am or where I'm going or what I'm doing. But I do know that there's the Gemini is the opposite, or Sagittarius is the opposite of Gemini. So in Sagittarius, you've got this profound quest, a spiritual quest, an energy of giving back what you've learned, expressing, so for the advanced soul, it's a very important energy. And yet this feeling of like, wait a minute, it's been a whole year and I still don't know who I am or where I'm going. Now, this is the mysterious energy of this time, because we're just less than a week away from the Mercury retrograde starting in Gemini, in square to Neptune in Pisces, mutable, 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 Jupiter at the beginning degrees of Pisces. And then that south node in Sagittarius, this full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. So We got this mutable energy everywhere, which is all about adjusting. But Gemini knows you adjust, you adjust, you adjust your mind. I want to know about this. I want to see it this way. I want to see. And then you don't know your own mind. Right. And this is kind of where humanity is stuck right now until humanity takes back its own mind and stops with the groupthink and the agenda of tyranny through mind control and the AI agenda. We can't get anywhere. So this energy of this Gemini retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and these eclipse season happening all together is really, really powerful because we know we need a huge shift of perspective. We know we all know the feeling of when you make a realization and then you have to face that truth and it means your whole life has to change, right? Like say that abusive relationship and you weren't facing the truth of the toxicity, but once you see it, you can't unsee it, although we try, right? And this is where we are in the world right now. This Mercury retrograde seems to be a time when we're going to be having more and more disclosure of truth kind of coming out into our world, but very shocking truths, but you can still avoid them if you'd like to. And yet this is creating a very uncomfortable cognitive dissonance in the collective consciousness. And I know you are feeling it, Supernova Soul, because you feel everything, because you are that evolved of a being. And so it's a very uncomfortable. It's been a very uncomfortable time. And then it's like, oh, wait, now more confusion, more retrograde, more waiting around for something to change, more like, I have no idea what is even the point of all this, right? But this period of time is so incredibly important. Because of these Neptune transits, we are going to be feeling absolute confusion, loss of direction. I don't know what's real. I don't know what's up. I don't know what's down. How can I know where I'm going when I have no idea where I've come from, right? But there's also this mystical, magical energy of Neptune. And so the astrology right now is this perfect mix of surrendering, to allow the magic back into your life. So maybe you don't know who you are or where you're going or what you're doing because who you are and where you're going and what you're doing is way bigger than you can imagine. And that means that what's unfolding in your life and the redirection that's happening could mean your life is going to be better than you could even imagine. So we got to get out of our own way, right? The lost feeling of when you think you know where you're going, you think you're in this great relationship and you find out it's totally based on lies, right? It's this feeling of loss of a sense of self, but that loss of sense of self is also ego death, right? So the whole point of this whole evolution on a spiritual level is to reconnect to spirit and disconnect from the physical material, right? So the whole agenda of the control energies is to get us more and more connected and attached to the physical, right? To survival mode. And so when you lose the physical of what you thought, who you thought you were and where you thought you were going, there's that ego death, right? And you feel like, I'm totally lost. I don't know who I am. I don't know, but that's actually a really good place to be because you're like cleaning the slate of all that you were attached to and making room for that to fill with light. So this is the mantra kind of for this period of time. I don't know, right? What's coming, what's going, and I don't know who I am and what I'm here for, but I can feel the light returning into my life. Okay, we've got to focus on the feeling of it because we've got all of these Neptune transits and we've got Mars in Cancer. And so we got to feel our way out of the trap of the mind control because I can't think of a better transit to it could go either way, right? Like to release you from mind control and the programming or to go back asleep. Mercury, the mind, at home in Gemini, in square to Neptune in Pisces, which is about the dream, the vision, the spiritual connection, but also how collective consciousness has been controlled through collective consciousness, mind control and programming. Mercury retrograde is about rethinking, about changing your mental perspective. So anyone who has on some soul level said yes to awakening is not going to get out of this period of time without massive shift of perspective. Like, oh, I was totally wrong about that. I totally saw that wrong. It's a complete opposite. This is the energy of Neptune, because in Pisces, it's like Pisces is the oneness consciousness, right? And then in that realm, it's the place of dreams and archetypes and opposites. And this is kind of it feels like what we're experiencing right now is this kind of compressing of timelines into this oneness, so we can get through this portal into this shifting time, into the next chapter. But that, sorry about that. So this compression of time and timelines is making equal opposite. Like, this is the mystery of homeopathy, which is so profound. Is that Samuel Hahnemann, who started homeopathy 200 years ago, he was working with the original teachings of Hippocrates and Socrates, and looking with this premise that healing can be done with similars or opposites. So Western medicine is healing with opposites, right? It's going, it's like, oh, inflammation, let's make that go away. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Why is the body inflamed? Is that a healing response? Right? So Samuel Hahnemann wanted to explore the healing with similars. And what he found is that this is what's so confusing about our world, in a way, and maybe the mystery of this time. Is that a substance will have a reaction on the body, say coffee, right? And you drink coffee and there's caffeine. The caffeine, typically will give your body energy. Then there's the opposite, the reaction, right? So there's the primary action of the substance. And then there's the secondary action, which is your body's reaction to the substance. So if you drink a whole bunch of coffee, you're going to get massively fatigued eventually. And that's the opposite, right? And so what Samuel Hahnemann found is that in a diluted homeopathic remedy, and succussed meaning shaken up, that substance has the equal and opposite reaction. And so that's why it's really confusing if you've studied traditional herbs and then you go look at the homeopathy Materia Medica, where it lists the symptoms that are produced by different substances, because you'll find opposite symptoms, right? But this is the weird boomerang energy of our time right now. We are literally going through a photon belt, and this is producing a homeopathic remedy that is now it's really intense, because the world is really scary right now, looking at the effect of this poison injection that so many people are getting so willingly, so excited, mind controlled to think that this is a good, healthy thing for them. And it's actually poison and death warrant and who knows what. And it's really scary, right? But what I'm seeing as a spiritual seeker and a student of health, and through years and lifetimes, what I'm seeing is people getting healthier. Maybe not if you're choosing that direct injection of distortion and poison that wants to circumvent your immune system, but for those who aren't, ancestral hereditary layers, which can take years and years of treatment in alternative healing, are falling away. So this is where we need to keep our eye on the prize. It's like there's an equal opposite thing going on, and we need to put our energy on that. And so maybe when we go back to this energy, this story of this bloom of confusion, of ego death, of just totally lost feeling of the Venus retrograde last year at this time, and now we're back in that energy, but things are not what they seem. This is actually a massive rearranging of your life in a way that you can't comprehend. And so it's like, it's such an excruciatingly strange time and painful for so many souls right now, because there is this deep desire within you to express this life not lived. And yet there's nowhere to put it. And that's because we're like in between paradigms, right? Because we've already felt this, like the old 3D way of creating isn't working. It's like wall, 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 wall. Can't go anywhere in that energy now that your field is adjusted into a new energy. And it's almost like, so you've been going through these changes, not even realizing what's happening. Now your life has to change and unfold so that you can get on with it, right? Except for we have 6 weeks of time for these next 6 weeks where you're not doing nothing, you know? It's really intense, but it's almost one of those times of like, okay, this, this path forward and the actual action steps in the direction that my ego wants to feel safe and secure and feel like I'm doing what I'm here to do, that is elusive right now. But maybe it's because the light is coming in and my life is rearranging in ways that I can't comprehend in my consciousness, in my 3D everyday consciousness, right? So it's like we got to get out of the way because the agenda, your path, your quest, so much coming up with the Sagittarius lunar eclipse is bigger than you can imagine, and yet simpler than you can imagine. But it's outside of your frame of reference. And so it's like we've got to kind of get our ego out of the way and allow our life to shift and change into this new energy and just embrace the light coming in. Because this is the second coming. Christ consciousness is descending to be more available. And so it's like we're having this period of time because what's happening right now is we're starting to feel, even though we still have 6 days before Mercury turns retrograde, we're already feeling Mercury in square to Neptune. And Mercury, as it's turning retrograde, is going to be in square to Neptune this whole time. And for almost 3 weeks. And that is this really confusing breakdown of all the old mind control patterns. Who knows what that means for the masses, but for you, it means get out of your own way now. Affirm and reconfirm thy will and the light, the way. You're coming into that vibration. That's what's happening. And so you don't get to know what it looks like to fully express that right now, but you have faith in knowing that that's why you're here. And it's kind of like I can see this tension building as we're coming up against, we're trying to transform this material experience, our physical body into light, right? We're wrestling with our ancestral energies and our programming and our physicality and our attachments, right? But the reason why it's so excruciating is because it's happening so fast. So it's almost like this place of, like you're hanging on the edge of the cliff and kind of holding on. And then this is where you say, okay, I surrender. And I have faith and trust in who I am as a soul and all I've gone through. And I didn't come here just for this. And that way that I'm stepping on and this true expression of the bigger self of who I am, this beautiful individuated expression of this consciousness is unfolding like a pathway, a tunnel of light, really pulling you in. And, to let go and step on this path and trust and let yourself be in the unknown as a spiritual practice. Maybe that'll be helpful because not only do we have Mercury in square to Neptune, which is incredibly confusing transit, but we have Mercury and Venus coming into conjunction. They'll be in exact conjunction right when Mercury turns retrograde. And so that's a really interesting energy, right? Because we've got Venus back in Gemini, bringing that bloom of confusion. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want. I can't go, and then Mercury coming up to Venus right when it turns retrograde. It's like they're like, boom. And then Mercury turns retrograde. Now, interestingly enough, Mercury will not catch back up to Venus until the last couple of days of 2021, the last couple of days of the year. So it's a really interesting energy. But so since Mercury and Venus will be close, that means Venus will also be in square with Neptune. And Venus square Neptune bringing up all of that misdirection, misguided. I thought I knew where I was going and it's so wrong. And now I have no idea what I'm doing and what is even the point of existence, right? This is pushing you deep into this esoteric depression. That is the Sagittarius energy, this desire to be on your quest, right? But you've been in a holding pattern. You've been treading water. You've been in a straitjacket. You've been in quarantine. And this whole story, waiting for the world to change. But now, if you stop and you be quiet and you come into the moment, you can feel the change. The light is returning. There's been a shift. And that's the interesting energy of the Sagittarius lunar eclipse. It's like rising from the ashes. It's like, it's like that. It's interesting because I see a picture of a fish, with all this water energy, but the fish is like jumping up out of the water, maybe over the dam, right? Like that fish has so much energy and so much power and so much desire to get back home to your spiritual home. It's like, screw all this, right? It's like, it's, this is the magic of this time. It's so weird that then you realize and 100% that it's not real. And then you can say, end this movie. I'm no longer consent to this movie. Now I see through it. No more. I no longer consent. And you, as an individual soul, can begin to establish and work from this other place outside of the matrix. And we need this energy. It's so beautiful, but it's also going to be really confusing. So just knowing that it's coming and the surrender to this bigger path that's more filled with light and more defined on some level. It's so spiritually defined. On a physical level, it's not defined yet because we're working in future energies, right? This is Saturn and Aquarius. It's like we're trying to work in future energies and we're not in the future yet. And we're like, how do we catch up? This whole 2021 is like, how do we get into the Aquarian age? What is each sign? What does each energy mean in this new age? What in the heck are we doing here, right? Because remember, the last Mercury retrograde in February was in Aquarius. So now Mercury's home in Gemini going, you guys, we got some massive rearranging to do in our psyche if we're ever going to get out of this old story. So pretty profound. And to have Mercury and Venus in square to Neptune as Mercury turns retrograde. And it's like, you better be willing to completely reevaluate your life. And even it's like, to those of us who actually have been deeply researching, trying to find truth, you're still getting your mind blown. So we got to set that construct of our mind aside. It's like, because our mind that we thought was our mind is actually a hive mind of like this brain, a programmed brain that we're all connected to, right? And so what this time is about is disconnecting from the hive mind brain very deliberately, as you've stayed true, you've done it, you've held on to who you are, right? Even if you feel confused, that means you're actually doing it, right? Because the sheeple that are clinging, they're not confused. They're accepting and taking the news feed and running with it, right? You are confused because you are that strong of a soul to stay connected to something greater. And everything's been working against this, except for that now it's boomeranging and the light is coming back in. And are you going to get out of your own way so that you can be present in that path of light that's unfolding? It's not a specific rule, but it's big. This is maybe the reconciling for the supernova soul with this, because the Sagittarius energy of this rising from the ashes, coming back into your quest, rising up above the lower matrix, coming back into your direct connection with God, living and breathing in your true spiritual truth as a daily practice, moment to moment, just affirming and confirming. This is what's available to us in this time, a complete rearranging back to spirit. And everything's prepared you for this. So we can't see the exact way that our role is going to play out, but we can feel, and maybe this is what's been really, it's funny because it's like, I don't know, there's something I have inside of me. It's something bigger, and then the people around you say, oh, you're just egotistical. You just think you're better than us, right? And it's like, no, but it's like, and then you think, well, I don't know. I do have this talent and I have this thing I really love, but I don't, maybe it's art or music or my healing. Will anybody really want it? And it's like, ooh. So what if the truth is that that's so much bigger than you can imagine, your path, your destiny. And yet the specific idea of what you thought that was totally doesn't fit, right? And maybe the specific idea of what you thought it was is in the way of you fully embracing this light. Maybe it represents your fear of the power of your spiritual light and what might need to change in your life as that comes back in and lands home in its rightful place. See, as an advanced soul, supernova soul, the definition is that you've already had previous experiences before coming to Earth, and you came to do this consciously against all odds, everything working against and towards the material AI agenda, and you came to represent the way. Now, how could you do that if you don't already have a sense of this within you? And it is that big, and it is that scary. And you know what? That means it's also that beautiful and profound. Like, what if you woke up tomorrow and you were just like in continual and profound gratitude for life because you could feel the energy of what it means to be God conscious, aware of itself. And then your path is not your path. Not that you have to give up any of your individuated gifts and skills. That's how you do it. But it's just about making way for the light and just clean out all the garbage. This is a great time to clean your psychic garbage. And maybe it's interesting always when you get a very powerful T-square energy, because we've got the Pisces represented so strong with Jupiter there and Neptune, and we've got all this Gemini energy and then Sagittarius lunar eclipse. Then that brings a big empty hole to the beginning degrees of Virgo, which is the beginning degrees of Virgo is like on fire or excited about organizing and cleaning up. And so that's maybe what this is like a complete, can you get inside your psyche and find that programming and the bad wiring and just like literally clean that shit out? This is what this time is for. It is not a time for moving forward. It's not a time to make decisions. It's not a time to figure shit out. It's a time to rest in the knowing of the light that you are and feeling and enjoying and being confirming and affirming that the light is returning into your life. And then recognizing where we're attached to the old stories that keep us distracted from this light. What if all this struggle is just because we're scared of all the spiritual light that we can hold? And it's not scary, but we've been taught to fear it, right? So what we're having here is this lunar eclipse, and it's this rising from the ashes. The light is there. It's there. It's been there the whole time, and I'm not letting go. And I'm going to be on my quest. I'm going to bring my life completely into reorient to spirit and what really matters, life force, and claim back my quest. I do have everybody around me for lifetimes and validated my quest, but it's clear as day now. Because shit is so weird, and it had to get to this point to be clear as day for you. So it's a little more confusion before you get to this clear as day, but this is a decision you're making inside of yourself to redirect towards the way, thy will. That cup of God is waiting for you. This Neptune in Pisces is trying to open you back up to the direct revelation of the only thing that's real. So, it's interesting that the lunar eclipse and the Sagittarius energy comes right at the beginning of this 6-week period of time, where we've got solar eclipse on the 10th in Gemini, and then the solstice, and then Mercury will come out of retrograde shadow. Mercury will turn direct just after the solstice, and then another week of square Neptune, where we're really going to be sorting it all out. And then this kind of pinnacle moment of around the end of the first week of July, July 7th, when all these influences shift. And then it's going to be like, okay, now I can get my bearings again, right? So we got to lose our bearings completely to come back into this living, breathing connection to source. And it's like maybe the Sagittarius energy is to get back on your quest. You got to drop all the ideas of what that was, what that means, and the spiritual ego, and you're going to save the world. And you got to just let this light in, be the living demonstration, and affirm and confirm. And it is increasing. And the matrix is breaking down. You know, and I'm just seeing this picture of us going through this photon belt, this activating energies, you know, and of course there's a compensating control mechanism grid over the last couple of years, right? Deliberately, events planned deliberately at crucial astrological times when the light's trying to come in. And nothing can stop it. And remembering all that matrix that's been psychologically attacking you is artificial and needs to be fed with energy and technology and manpower. And it can't keep up because the light is just organic. It's just coming. Nothing can stop it. So we got to put our energy there. So it's almost like there's this huge exalted energy with the Sagittarius, like coming out of the ashes and being like, I did not come here for this. Humanity, make your choice, but I am already made mine, and I'm going back to the light, and I don't give an F where you want to be on the spectrum. That is your own prerogative. And I'm giving myself permission to come back and walk in the light. And this is the best way for you to help anybody who's in the darkness. You know, we got to stop being the savior. We got to complete the Piscean age and close the chapter. That's exactly what this energy is all about. Because the light never came to be a martyr. It never came to suffer. It never came to be the sacrifice. It came to be the way out of suffering. And this is where we make that shift right here, right now, too. So there's a huge exalted energy of reaching up out of the old stories, out of the ashes, out of the whole attachments to all of the ideas and programming. And then we've got the 6-week period of time of confusion, eclipses, darkness. Eclipses are about what's hidden and being revealed. And so it's almost like we need this 6-week period of time to adjust to the activation energies of this lunar eclipse. So if you can see it that way and know that I can see people going, you know, in and out of the esoteric depression, the confusion, the hopelessness, and back to the light. And almost like this pattern, right? Until you gather momentum and then just slip out of those old stories for good. And so this time is so important for you souls. But it's a time to rest, recover, receive, heal, move that grief. And Mars and Cancer will be coming up into a trine with Neptune. And that is a very powerful energy of moving this old grief, getting out of those old stories and claiming back that cup of God into our life and being that living, breathing example. Now, this is what's happening when I'm saying, like, what we're being shown is people getting sicker and being attacked by poisons and taking down the medical tyranny road. What's really happening is those souls that have already chosen the massive healing is just happening fast. It's like super dynamic, super fast. Although there can be those periods of time where you're like wrestling with these energies and it can feel excruciatingly painful. That's because healing is happening very rapidly, very fast. It's that Schumann resonance, the white light coming in, but it's coming up against that density, which is the red color. It's like what has to move now that light has come in. And that's exactly the energy of these next 6 weeks, Sagittarius lunar eclipse. And then, got to sort through all this so that we really can invite, live and breathe, affirm and confirm and live the way of light and the path, thy will in our life. So Don't let yourself get caught in the weeds of the emotions of the, it's like, just know that this time is going to be all over the place. That's the deal with mutable energies. Okay. So it's a mutable T-square. And what do we have in mutable? We've got Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces, Sun, Moon coming up to Gemini, Mercury, Venus, North Node. That's 7 elements in mutable signs. That's a lot of mutable energy. And mutable energy does not know where it's going. It's adjusting. And this is so good for us, right? It's so good because it's like, wait a minute, adjusting the mind, the psyche, your way out and humanity's way out, if they want to take it out of the mind control. I can't believe I didn't see that. That was complete opposite of what I thought was true. I was wrong. This is the power of these times. And a huge ego death, right? You've been going through the ego death constantly, doing your work, showing up, and the masses are going to have this opportunity as well. And so complete rearranging, though, of the psyche. And this is like, we're at that point. That's the only, we cannot move forward without a complete rearranging. And the rearranging is only making room for that light coming back into your life. So claim it, own it, put away all the stories, put away all the desires, like all the ideas about you not living or not living your truth, and be the truth in each moment. Take a little ritual time each day to affirm and confirm why you're really here and what you're really doing. We're in constant distraction. Got to do this to survive. You got to, in the news and the media and the technology, and it's distraction. And it's almost like this is a really great time to use this energy in your advantage to invite a very powerful affirmation of spirit into your life, maybe at a certain time of day or different times a day, a little bit of a ritual, I just mean the same thing at the same time, to remind yourself what's really going on here. We've all been living a complete lie as an advanced soul, and humanity and the masses too, but because we're all consciousness. We've all been living a complete lie that we are only physical. And you're here to demonstrate something different. Literally come into your light body, walk around in a big robe of light. That is your mission and your purpose. So stop trying to figure out what your next steps are, and be in that energy. Nature's really helpful. Nature is so awakened right now, even the city birds, right? They're just like celebrating. They don't know what they're doing next, but they know who they are. They're alive. And we haven't been living. And all of the bad feelings you've been wrestling with have to do with you not living what a bigger truth, which is just spirituality. And so here we go. We're in the turnaround. We're in the mutable signs are like the roundabout, the train in the roundabout, and it's going around, and then you don't know where you were last because it's a circle, so you don't know where you want to go. And if you started going now, that might be the wrong direction and you'd have to backtrack. So just sit tight, pray, be present, love, breathe, affirm, and confirm that there's so much more to this experience, and let the light back in your life and deny. It's going to get easier and easier with this matrix breaking down to recognize the mind control thoughts, but not go there, right? This could also be like your ancestral programming. Yada, 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 that'll never work for you. Yada, 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 you're not good enough. That's not real, da, da, da. And you'll be like, oh, God, monkey mind, right? This is an opportunity to replace the whole program back with the pie, the slice of pie that's yours, really, we can't get out of this without a whole reckoning of 7 times returned what's been stolen from you. And that is the golden way that lies ahead. And you're here to lead the way. So get out of your own way and be present with the light that's returning into our world. And you're here to catch it right there in your DNA. And it's going to feel so much better. And you're finally ready to give yourself permission to feel better. That's your purpose, to demonstrate there's a whole different way to be. So I hope to see you. Maybe you'll consider joining the soul group session. This is a group intuitive session for this Sagittarius total lunar eclipse. And this is going to be happening 12 hours before the actual lunar eclipse on Tuesday, the 25th at 4 p.m. Mountain Time in the US. It's $20 because we're going deeper than the activations. The soul group session is a group intuitive session where we're looking at shared life pictures and energies. So everybody who comes, even if it's on the replay or you're just energetically joining, your presence, your intention to join can allow you to bring your psychic pictures, maybe what you haven't been able to access, but then we can look at these together as a group. And it gives an opportunity for contractual clearing, authority contract clearing, soul retrieval energies are huge right now, right? Like incarnating back in the light of who you really are, your bigger self landing home. Timeline alignment. This is a huge energy of eclipses. Eclipses are when the sun and the moon line up with the nodes. And so it's like everything's all lined up. That's why they cover each other. That lining up is a powerful timeline alignment opportunity. So we've got that. And so we don't know for sure what'll come up because you guys are bringing those images. And I'm just so honored to be a facilitator for this powerful work that we can do here together. So I hope to see you there on that soul group session on Tuesday, or energetically, or on the replay. The replay is there right there. We're working outside of time, so the replay is there for you to get into the energies if it doesn't work in your time zone. So I look forward to seeing you there or on the next update. Have a beautiful, wonderful rising from the ashes back into your spiritual purpose and mission. Don't worry too much about what that means or what you need to do next. Just sit tight in the light and the faith and the trust. This is a time of faith. It's not faith in something outside of you, though. That's what a total misunderstanding of faith. This faith is about you as a soul and all you've gone through, and there's more to the story. And we're all here together. We made it. So it's glorious what lies ahead. So hang in there, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Hopefully that soul group session or the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Leeds. Namaste.